Yo, Ludi here, and let's get going. Class tuning coming 18th of August. Very quick, literally the season start. What do we have here? Blood Decay, Sand Lane, Visceral Strength gives 6% strength instead of 10. Confusion increases Dancing Rune weapon damage by 5 instead of 10. So really big nerfs, like these are big numbers, especially these are main stat numbers. But these are PvE changes, right? Now, this is gonna impact PvP a lot for Blood Decay. Like these are big numbers, so that's a big nerf for Blood Decay. Now for the Frost, what do we have? All ability damage increased by 9%. Huge. But the tier set bonus is nerfed from 2% attack speed to 1 per stack, and Icy Death Torrent damage from 4% stack to 2% per stack. So that doesn't really matter for PvP because, well, tier sets are nerfed anyways in PvP, so this is a small number. But this is huge, 9%. Now, Frost Decay, as we've seen in the previous video, to our video, had big changes. Nerf burst, big buffs to consistent damage. But the burst didn't get nerfed that much, because this is going to offset it back. Like the burst is going to be good and consistent damage is going to be good. So Frost is looking very scary. Okay. Now let's check if we have some PvP specific changes. PvP Trinket set bonus now increases primary stat by 20% for damage dealers and tanks instead of 15. Huge. Again, huge buff to the Frost as well. This is in general for bursty classes, huge buff, not for consistent damage dealers. This is for burst buff. So very interesting. Okay. What else do we have? Demon Hunter Devourer. All ability damage increased by 14, not in PvP. So Devourer is underperforming in PvE. Reap Calc Eradicate damage reduced by 12. But this does affect PvP. Damn, Devourer looking ass in PvP, I ain't gonna lie, boys. Eradicate area of effect damage increased to 90% of the base damage from 85. Like this is a small buff, nothing crazy. But this is a big nerf. Okay. Now the 4 set bonus has been updated. Now generates 2 soul fragments instead of 8. Huge nerf. Increases reap damage by 10 instead of 20. Again, huge nerf. Like what the hell? Devourer looking real bad. Now let's look at the PvP changes. Surrenders to the Void now increases fury generated by 60% instead of 100. This is the big meta. Annihilator might be dead. Annihilator might be dead. Yup. This is really looking bad. Like really bad. Okay. Rusted Druid. All healing increased by 4%, not in PvP. All damage increased by 20%, not in PvP. Of course it's not in PvP because, as I said, Rusted Druid is going to be the best healer. But seems like in PvE it is not. So let's see if we have some Druid changes. That's all for the Druid. Restoration, all healing damage reduced by 5%. There we go. There we go. Everything we said is true. For the Hunter, what do we have? Venomous Abyss 4 set has been updated. Now causes Cobra Shot to benefit from Beast Cleave at 30% effectiveness per stack was 20. Or strike your target for an additional 20% damage per stack was 15. Now Cobra Strike was, is not a big, damage percentage for Beastmaster Hunter. So, whatever. Like, we can forget anything happened here. Nothing here for the Hunter. Okay, what else do we have? Mage, Arcane Mage has been very strong in PvE, which means it's gonna be also good in PvP, but we're getting some nerfs. Plus, it gets some, nice defensive buffs in PvP, right? But invisibility got reduced, so I think it's gonna stay the same in PvP. All ability damage increased by 3%. Nice. Venomous Abyss 2 set bonus has been updated. Arcane Missiles damage bonus reduced to 5% from 20. 4 set bonus has been updated. 4 set. Cumulative power damage bonus per stack reduced to 3% from 5. Now, as I said, the tier set bonuses are not that big of a deal in PvP because they're nerfed. This is a bigger deal. So in PvP it's gonna be kind of equal. In PvE it's a nerf, right? So PvE nerf, PvP kind of equal. Let's see the P part. Fire, okay. Parablast damage increased by 10%. Meteor damage decreased by 20%. Comet Storm damage decreased by 20%, not surprising. Force set now decreases the cast time of Parablast and Flame Strike by 30% instead of 10%. And increases Pyroclasm damage bonus by 5%, was 10%. No one's gonna use this anyways, so no need to buff this, because no one's gonna cast Pyroblast. Nor Flame Strike. Force set is useless, so they can buff it, doesn't matter. Now this is big, because Fire got, if you watch the video, big buffs, flat buffs, which would mean like Meteor would hit 70% of HP. So Meteor did not need to get nerfed for sure. Parablast damage increase is always nice. So good. I think it's good. I think both Arcane and Fire are looking good. I mean, all mage specs are looking good into the next season. Now let's see the Mistweaver. I don't know what to expect here. All damage increased by 8%, not in PvP. Venomous Abyss Force set has been updated. Activation rate increased by 33%. Okay, what about the nothing here? Okay, now Priest. All damage reduced by 30% for the Priest. This is probably for the Void Weaver. Entropic Rift damage increased by 20%. Atonement now transfers 46% of damage into healing, was 32%. Does not affect PvP. Wow, these are big changes. They're increasing Atonement by a lot, but nerfing the damage because of that. You see what they're doing here? But now this is the confusing part. Because in the PvP it's gonna stay the same, but in PvE it's changing completely. Right? I don't know. That's the annoying part in PvP, right? Class plays differently. I mean, all damage will be reduced by a lot, like 30%. That's huge number, huge. And this is not that big of a buff. Since your damage is reduced by 30%, they should buff this to 60. Right? Enlightenment now regenerates mana 25% faster instead of 10%. Wow, this is pretty damn good. Again, very good in PvP. This is going to be very juicy. Oracle. Word of the Wise now increased the healing of Holy Word Serenity and Holy Word Sanctified by 40%. Was 10% only. Oh, does not affect PvP. This is pretty nice as well. Prompt Prognosis healing increased by 55%, not in PvP. Preventive Measures now increases Prayer of Mending healing by 40% instead of 15%, not in PvP. Okay, do we have any PvP changes for the Priest? We do not. Okay, but we do have some Paladins. So, all healing decreased by 5% in PvP combat for the Holy Paladin. Judgment damage decreased by 30%. Avenging Crusader now transfers 80% of damage into the healing instead of 55%. Oh, okay. This is interesting. This is interesting. That's why they're nerfing the Judgment. But then again, we are... I thought we were going a little bit away from the big buttons into, you know, season stuff. But this tells me the opposite, right? So, interesting. All damage increased by 8% for Red Paladin. Wow. Back to S tier easily. Final verdict damage increased by 15% in PvP combat. Great. For the Paladins. Hammer of Light damage increased by 25%. Insane. Sacrifice of Just reduces Blessing of Sacrifice cooldown by 30 seconds in PvP instead of 60 seconds. Okay, Unbreakable Spirit reduces the cooldown effect of spells by 20% instead of 30%. So they're reducing the utility of a Paladin and, you know, giving him damage. Now, this is gonna affect higher play more, right? The utility part. Because 95% of the Paladin player base does not utilize the utility well. So this is flat buff. Flat buff for 98% of the player base, I would say. Like, huge buff. Because, you know, you're not using sack on the cooldown, right? So I would say this is huge buff for the Paladin, okay? Except in the high end, where it's a trade-off, but I would still say favorable trade-off. Okay, so huge win for the red paladin, humongous. These are big numbers. Rogue, all damage increased by 4% on the assassination, the strongest spec. Surprising, surprising. Sub, all damage increased by 60%. Sorry, 6. Again, pretty decent number. And I think on the sub rogue it's fine. But on assassination, I mean, I don't know. The Venomous Abyss Force has been updated. Effectiveness reduced to 60% from 100. Okay. Do we have any? We do not. For the Shaman, enhancement, all damage increased by 5%. That is crazy. I mean, Shaman had gotten so much. The only, like, it only had one nerf on the Doom Winds. Everything else was kind of a buff. So Shaman looking real good. Real good. Let's see the PvP changes. It's only Rest of Shaman PvP changes. So enhancement looking good. Oral healing increased by 4%. Storm Conduit now reduces the cooldown of effect spells by 2 seconds instead of 4. This is the PvP talent that only high-end shamans were abusing, usually. Storm Conduit now reduces the duration of interrupts on Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning by 40% instead of 65. I don't know if this is gonna be used anymore now. Like, nerfing both parts? I don't know, probably not gonna be used anymore. Farseer, Healing Wave, Healing Surge, and Chain Healing from Ancestor increased by 35% in the PvP combat. Hydro Bubble Absorption increased by 35% in PvP combat. Interesting. There's again buffing Farseer. They buffed Farseer for a lot of times and still didn't help it. So let's see if this is gonna push it over. Demolock. Only 2-set thing. So 2-set bonus has been updated. Wild Imps now implode at 350% effectiveness to their main target was 250%. And 315 effectiveness to other targets was 225%. Okay, whatever. We don't use implode pretty much at all in PvP, so not a big deal. Warlock, Soulfire damage reduced by 30% in PvP combat. When I was reading those patch notes, but Soulfire was by far, like, it hits almost double than the Chaos Bolt. Especially if it crits, it hits like triple than the Chaos Bolt. And then it got buffed by, what was it, 40, 30%? Like, there's no way that's gonna stay in PvP. It's gonna delete 70% if it crits of someone's HP bar. No way. So, expected. Warrior, all damage increased by 6% for the Fury Warrior. As I said, Fury Warrior was looking ass coming into the expansion, especially for PvP. Arms was definitely better, and now this could actually put Fury into A tier back. Because I said it's going to be B tier. But with this, I could see it in A tier, definitely. This is a decent number, right? Now for the tier set, 4-set, Bloater's damage increased by 10%. During Recklessness, Bloater's increases the critical bonus of Recklessness by 3%, out to 6, was 5 up to 10. Again, definitely take this over the, 4-set. So all in all, very, very expected patch. Everything that I commented on that 2-hour video came to pass, like everything. So yeah, thank you for watching, and see you in the next patch. See you.